The following program was paid for by Templar Real Estate. The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of the staff and management of WMTR. As always, it is advisable to consult a professional before making a major decision. It's time now for the Templar Real Estate Talk Show. Here's your host for the program, Joseph J. Zoppi.
Hello, welcome to the Templar Real Estate Talk Show. My name is Joseph J. Zoppi, a real estate investor, consumer advocate, author, and managing partner of Templar Real Estate Enterprises. You could reach us at templarcashforhouses.com. That's TEMPLAR cashforhouses.com. That's one word. Or at 973-240-8593. Again, that's 973-240-8593, and we could answer any questions you may have, or you could email us from our website. Again, any questions you may have, as well as anything you want discussed on this radio show. For first-time listeners, my company is a real estate investment firm. We buy houses for cash. We purchase apartment buildings. We do joint ventures with other real estate investors. We loan money for rehabs and provide transactional and gap funding as well. We work with individuals that want to invest with us in single-family houses up to apartment buildings. We do not speculate, and we're very protective of our money and our investors' money. We're not a brokerage, and I'm not a real estate agent, but I have individuals on staff that are agents that can sell your house through the traditional multiple listing service. This show is going to go over everything there is about real estate and those things that impact real estate. We'll talk about our rehabs, some of our investments, what went well, what did not go well, and how we learned from them. We'll talk about the economy and interest rates. We'll discuss trends in the real estate market. Real estate is one of your biggest investments, so it's important that you know as much as possible about it. I'm going to provide you with my opinion, and it's only my opinion. I ask everyone to do a lot of research, and anything they do, make sure that you understand different points of view if you're researching a topic or a person. Again, as always, it's always good to get referrals, but if you get referrals, please ask lots of questions with that as well. You want to make sure that the individual is going to meet your expectations, not what the individual that referred you to. So everybody's expectations are different in terms of services provided, how quickly, how frequently things are communicated, so on and so forth. So that's very, very important. The other thing you have to do is I would always look at the Better Business Bureau and look if they're first a member of the Better Business Bureau, or if there's any derogatory comments or cases against them. Okay, that's very important. We're part of the Better Business Bureau. We feel that it's extremely important for us to be part of it, and we have to go through certain things to ensure that we were approved by it, and we have to continue to adhere to certain standards. So that's extremely important. To one of my favorite listeners, Livingston's most famous crossing guard, Paulette, and Timmy from Cedar Grove Water Department, as well as John and Cindy. Hey guys, how you doing? I would also like to thank some of my investors, Cindy and John, also on that. So I'd like to thank you guys for the confidence in giving us the money, and how we've had years of working together, and continue to hope that goes forward. Thanks a lot, guys. We're looking for different properties. If you have anything you'd like to recommend from someone that's selling a apartment building, so on and so forth, please give us a call. We prefer 100 plus units, but I need a few other smaller ones, nothing like less than 10, not even 10. It has to be preferably 15, not even 15. I'm thinking about it now. It has to be maybe 25, 30, 40, something like that. We're right now in the process of selling a number of properties, and we got to reinvest it within a short period of time, or we're going to get taxed. So that's kind of very important to us, so we don't get taxed by the government and have to give away some of our proceeds. So we could all understand that, and no one likes the IRS, so I'm one of them. A couple other things that I want to make sure you know is that, again, if you need to sell your house fast and no hassle, please give us a call. Right now, we're in the process of purchasing a individual's house. She's going through a divorce, and it's going very smooth. We also we have to get a standard CO like we normally do, and we always tell everyone you should be getting a CO when you sell the house. And we're doing one for the town. The town's not coming out. We have to sign an affidavit saying that we're adhering to certain things, as well as take some pictures. So we want to make sure we're above board on everything we do. But when we purchase most of these houses, everything goes really pretty smooth and like clockwork. Not always. So a lot of times when we have some challenges, it's sometimes really on the seller's attorney. We're having one right now, which is giving us some angst, and I'll talk about that shortly. But for the most part, things go very smoothly with us. We have the money. We're not going to nickel and dime you once we come to an agreement. We don't renegotiate later on. We make certain things very clear in terms of what's part of it, what's not part of it. So it's an easy transaction. One of the things I do want to talk about is that that Governor Murphy extended the moratorium on evictions till the end of the year, and to the consternation of landlords, they're very upset, myself included, even though it's really not affecting me, except under one scenario. But even that one, I don't think I have to worry about it. But it's kind of I don't know what the words are, and I'd rather not you say them on the radio, to tell you the truth. But it's basically a blank check saying, you don't have to pay for rent. You could cut it or slice it or dice it, whatever way you want. But in the end, if someone says I'm not paying, they're not paying. And you can't do anything about it. Under a few circumstances you can, but it's basically if you're a squatter. But short of that, if someone doesn't want to pay, they don't have to pay. They don't even have to. If there was something in the what Governor Murphy put out says that you have to prove that you don't have a job or something like that, it would be a little more forgiving for me, and I'd say okay. But I know numerous landlords. They're just mom and pop type things, and they're having all these problems, and it's not fair. It's just not fair. And they say, well, you could get a moratorium also on the mortgage, possibly, or also you could request a reduction of the property tax, from what I understand. But it's still not the same. It really is not. And there's certain expenses that go in to having a property, from renter's insurance to a number of other things like water, so on and so forth. And it's just not fair, and it's ridiculous that a individual has this much power that can do this. It's just crazy, and it's extremely frustrating to me and a number of other landlords. Again, they're not all large landlords that have thousands of units that could uh, work this in, because they have a lot of cash flow and other things. It's just not the case. You have individuals that have like a couple units here, a couple units there, and it's just really hurting them. And there's no reason why this should be the case. No reason at all. And who knows? They say it's till the end of the year. Then, there's been talk about these different uh, groups that are trying to push it even further and, not wanting to pay for rent. It's just horrendous what this is turning out to be. And again, you have individuals, because of these types of policies, that are moving out of the state. They're moving out of New York, they're moving out of Jersey, and they're moving south. And they're going to Florida and a number of these other states that do not do things like this. There must be a reason why everyone's going down there. It's the taxes and it's a bunch of other things. And they're tired of it. I spoke to someone the other day. They said that they're going to move down to Florida or be part-time down Florida or enough until whatever that dividing line is, where they're a resident of one state as opposed to New York City or New York, because of the taxes and everything else associated with it. And people are going to continue to do that. I might do that as well, in the next couple of years. I really might. And I'll visit here or do something, where I could stay up here sometimes, because I'm a North Jersey boy. I love North Jersey. That's just who I am. But this is just really ridiculous in terms of that. A couple other things before I get into some of the stuff that went on this week with our company. Interest rates. Last week they were pretty low, and I think they've gone down even further. Right now, last week the 30-year fixed rate refinance was 2.75%. And the 20-year, again, fixed rate refinance was 2.75%, which is unbelievable. Now the 15-year rate for refinance is 2%. And the 10-year fixed rate was 2.125%. It was up a little bit from 2.0%, but I think they've gone down a little bit since then. And there's a lot of factors that are playing into this, but for how long, that's the question. So you have, on the large economic factors, you got the strength of the economy, inflation rates, which I don't know right now. We're getting hit with some inflation, so pretty soon that's going to really affect things. Employment, consumer spending, housing construction, and other types of market conditions like that. The stock and bond market, where that is, the 10-year Treasury, and then the Federal Reserve policies. And Federal Reserve, they even said they're going to play behind the curve as opposed to in front of the curve, where they're going to react based on the circumstances instead of being proactive. So I think that might affect things and make things a little worse also in the future. The other things that really impact the interest rate for your personal mortgage is your credit score, your credit history, how much, especially on a refi, how much equity you have in your home, the loan amount, the loan term, and the loan type, as well as the location of the property and the debt to income ratio. So all those factors play into when you're refinancing a mortgage, from the economic side, the macro side, the large perspective on the economy, as well as your personal economic factors. And those are two important things that will affect it. So let me close out this segment. I'll be back shortly. Again, you could reach us at 973-240-8593 or templarcashforhouses.com. Thank you very much.
Life can be a roller coaster, and sometimes you need to sell your house fast. That's why there's TemplarBuysHouses.com. Maybe you're downsizing, getting a divorce, having health or financial issues. If so, head to TemplarBuysHouses.com. TemplarBuysHouses.com. TemplarBuysHouses.com will buy your house quickly and without hassle. If you've inherited a house that is vacant, contact TemplarBuysHouses.com. Dealing with them is easy and quick. No high-pressure sales tactics, and you won't have to fix up the house. They will buy your house as is. You pick the closing date and when you move out. No commissions and no hassles. Contact TemplarBuysHouses.com. TemplarBuysHouses.com. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Call 973-315-7990. That's 973-315-7990.
Be sure to listen to the podcast of the Templar Real Estate Talk Show. Find it now at TemplarBuysHouses.com.
Hello. Welcome back to the Templar Real Estate Talk Show. My name is Joseph J. Zoppi, Managing Partner of Templar Real Estate Enterprises. You could reach us at 973-240-8593. Again, that's 973-240-8593 or TemplarCashforHouses.com. That's TEMPLAR cashforhouses.com. And again, if you're interested in selling through the traditional multiple listing service, I have some great agents, the rock stars, that would love to list your house. Or we could just purchase your house outright as is. You could leave anything you want there. It's a fast, easy, quick way of going, and you don't have to worry about anything. So that's one of the biggest things that really individuals like. You know, we're dealing with this one widow, and I spoke about her last week, and she has a nice house, but it needs some work, and she was very anxious. Her husband passed away, and she just wants to leave the house. She's just really just wants to leave, and she's very apprehensive, and we're making this transition for her and the sale very easy. But as always, like I said, sometimes things are challenging. A lot of times, the attorney sometimes throws in a lot of curveballs. So originally when we went under contract, we were very clear on everything. He wanted put in the contract to put an extremely large down payment as the initial down payment. It was like $30,000 initially. And we had to go back and forth a little bit, and then he accepted a lower amount. We don't want to just put the money up and just tie up our cash. There's no reason for it. The second thing is that we have lines of credit, and he was stating that with our lines of credit, they still have to look at the house to do like a pseudo appraisal, and he didn't think it was required, and he says that doesn't make sense. As I've said before, there's a few things. Attorneys aren't business people. Second of all, there's deal makers and deal breakers. And we went back and we explained it to them. We still need to do an appraisal. They're giving us the money, so they want to make sure it's what we're saying it is. And, we don't have to go through any qualification or anything like that. We have literally millions of dollars in lines of credit. And so he accepted it. But, anytime a lending institution gives you millions of dollars in lines of credit, they still want to make sure that there's something really there. And, it's based on compliance. So, again, you can't just have a free-for-all and just, give the money out and then, maybe there's nothing there. Even though you might be able to see something on Google Maps or something, but you never know. So there's compliancy things from lending institutions that we have to adhere to, and they're not that strict, relatively speaking, especially for us. We have a great reputation over the years, so it goes very far for these lending institutions and for our track record, and that's how it plays out. It's based on our track record, years of experience, our credit worthiness, things like that, how much money we have in the bank. So there's a lot of factors. And because of that, we have the ability to borrow large sums of money. And we could extend it even further based on the deal. So we're not too concerned about that. But again, the attorney pushes back a little bit. We had to push back. And then that was it. Then the next thing was the solar panels on the roof. And as I said last week, it was one of the most poorly written agreements. Well, it wasn't poorly written for the individuals that are making all the money. We'll put it at that. But for the consumer and for this elderly couple, it was horrendous. And we said, and we recommended that they default on it, at least for the estate, and then we'll renegotiate. And we spoke to the seller's power of attorney, which is her grandson, and he says, let me talk to the attorney on it. The attorney came back and said, well, why don't you take over the lease? And it was just very frustrating because it was like the lease is lousy. Why even say something like that? We've clearly stated to the seller's power of attorney, her grandson, that it was lousy. Anyone that could just look at the contract, it was just lousy. So we haven't heard anything on that. But like I said, is if they do default on it, then I will contact the solar company and renegotiate. And one of the things I would push if we were going to take the deal is that they can't go after the previous homeowners. And that's what I put in there. And I think they would do something. I think because the system right now is about 4 or 5 years old. So the technology's older. Each year or 2 years they're coming out with new technology. So right now, if they take it back, they're going to try to go after the estate, which is not going to have anything, and they're going to be just holding the bag, really. So it's probably in their best interest, really, to renegotiate. And I guarantee it'll be in my favor. And they'll still get tax credits and everything else. So in the end, they're not going to make out bad. But we'll see. But with that being said, is we also had a septic inspection, and that failed. And we made it very clear in the contract that there's a couple things that we always have to go back and renegotiate. One of them is like a septic system. So the septic system is going to cost about $40,000. We did not plan on that. We thought the septic was good because they had it cleaned out and it was working, but it was barely working. And there's a lot of problems with it. It's like someone said it was 50 years old, another one said 30 something years old. It's just in bad shape. And we weren't expecting that. We didn't factor that into the price. And we spoke to the grandson. He understood it very clearly. And then we had a report on it. The report was pretty clear. We sent the report over to the attorney. The attorney came back and complained that it was vague and he didn't want to pay anything. And then because it was vague and he didn't think anything was wrong with it. And, I basically responded and said, well, Why don't you speak to the inspector or get another inspector? It's very simple. And my partner, she was upset at that, and just, she was just pissed off, saying, well, "What is this? It's vague, this, that." And I said, "Don't worry. This is just, as we all know, this is just something that they go through, and they make statements that don't have any validity or anything to back it up." And she was just frustrated because the attorney keeps pushing back on everything. So it just makes the transaction a lot harder for us. And then they came back, and we estimate it could cost between $35,000 to $42,000. So he came back and said $15,000. We'll give you a credit of $15,000. We said no. It was that simple. And I said, we're not going to, eat another $20,000. In addition, there was other things that came back that we're going to eat. There's problems with the well. So there's a bunch of problems with the well. It's drinkable or potable, as it's stated or called, but we're going to probably have to invest about $5,000 in that. And if the solar panels come off the roof, we might have to redo the roof, which we're going to eat that cost. So that's not being pushed on to the seller either. But as we said in the contract, the septic is a big thing. So he came back again and said, well, 30, and that's final. And we pushed back and said no. So my attorney, being too expeditious, and just said, okay, contract is canceled, which got me crazy. And with these contracts and with discussions, things aren't black and white, and it's just like it's canceled, and it shouldn't be that way. And I'm a little frustrated, to say the least. I reached out to the seller's grandson and said, my attorney was a little expeditious. I would like to talk about it. And he agreed, saying the same thing, that his attorney was also too cut and dry. And we both kind of sent smiley emojis to each other in the text that we're going back and forth in. So I'm going to talk to him, and we're going to see what we could do. But, things come up all the time. Again, it's, sometimes these attorneys are too cut and dry, and, they're not the ones, they're very protective, but then they're not. They're very protective because they're trying to save some money, but again, if the deal's canceled, they're going to have to go with someone else. They're going to extend that time. The grandmother, which is stressed out already, is going to be stressed out again for the next couple months until a deal is put together. And she's moving out right now. The grandson has her moving out right now because we're supposed to close the next week or so. And he wants to keep this thing moving. Now, if the deal doesn't go through, she's going to stay there. And next time, she's going to probably stay there till the end of the duration, until the day of closing. So, and he doesn't want that. So I think it's in everyone's best interest. We would like the deal, and he would like to consummate a deal. But there's always these complexities with these deals. Most deals are straightforward, but there's always a lot of touch points. Even after we do a deal that's easy, then we have to rehab it. And then there's those additional complexities associated with it. So, everybody thinks it's easy, and everybody says, oh, it's just making a lot of money, so on and so forth. It's not that simple, and one needs a lot of care. One of the reasons why traditionally the cost of money for rehabs is probably close to double digits. It could be 10%, 11%, 12% in points associated with it. It's because of the risk associated with it. It's that simple. lending institution sees a flip as one that has risk associated with it. And because of that, they price it accordingly. Case in point, when you live in your own home, the interest rate's considerably lower. Because you're going to live there, there might be ups and downs to the market in terms of the valuation of the house, but you're going to live there. So you could ride out any long-term changes. Next is if you have a second home. Those rates are higher than usually a primary mortgage. Case in point is because you're not living there, and in the end you might say, okay, I'm going to let that one foreclose, or I'm going to get rid of it, or I'm just going to let it go in disrepair, and then the mortgage company or lending institution will have to take it away. So the risk there is higher. And then when you come to something like a fix and flip, then the rate is even higher than that. And it's based on risk. So, sometimes individuals, when they're figuring what my costs are figuring in like a 2% on a mortgage or a line of credit, and that's not the case. So, it's a lot different. I have insurance. My insurance on the houses are expensive compared to regular homeowners insurance because it's riskier. So unfortunately, I got to close out this session. Thank you very much for everything. Again, you could reach us at 973-240-8593 or templarcashforhouses.com. Everyone, thank you very much. Please be safe. God bless you, and please take care. Bye.
Life can be a roller coaster, and sometimes you need to sell your house fast. That's why there's TemplarBuysHouses.com. Maybe you're downsizing, getting a divorce, having health or financial issues. If so, head to TemplarBuysHouses.com. TemplarBuysHouses.com. TemplarBuysHouses.com will buy your house quickly and without hassle. If you've inherited a house that is vacant, contact TemplarBuysHouses.com. Dealing with them is easy and quick. No high-pressure sales tactics, and you won't have to fix up the house. They will buy your house as is. You pick the closing date and when you move out. No commissions and no hassles. Contact TemplarBuysHouses.com. TemplarBuysHouses.com. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Call 973-315-7990. That's 973-315-7990.
Be sure to listen to the podcast of the Templar Real Estate Talk Show. Find it now at TemplarBuysHouses.com.
The preceding program was paid for by Templar Real Estate. The views and opinions expressed are not necessarily those of the staff and management of WMTR. As always, it is advisable to consult a professional before making a major decision.